Welcome to Phantom Zoned, the podcast where we dredge the lakes of hell in search of the worst the cinematic world has to offer and put it on trial for its crimes against humanity. After we review a film, we judge whether a movie is guilty or not guilty. If a film is found not guilty, it's free to frolic through the fields of life or for the enjoyment of all mankind. If a film is found guilty, however, it's jettisoned into the far reaches of space where it can never hurt anyone ever again. My name is Adrian Torres, and I'm the host here. And joining me, as always, is my good gooey zombie person pal, Scott Daly. How are we doing, Scott?
I'm doing great, Adrian. I just got back from seeing a good movie, so now I'm ready to, make myself unhappy by talking about this movie.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes here. If you haven't paid attention for a day or so, you're going to be going, well, this episode seems like it's coming out at a weird time, and it seems like it's being released directly after another episode. Well, that's because the last episode we had a slight technical snafu. I'm not going to pointing any fingers because I'd be pointing fingers at myself, basically. But Scott has been working tirelessly to get that episode out, so you can thank him and curse me all you want. So think of it this way. It's the holiday season, and we're giving you 2 episodes really close back to back. So you can listen to one at the beginning of the week and the other one right around Christmas if you choose.
There we go.
So that works. For the people who are Jewish, you're on whatever night of Hanukkah, I believe. So hopefully this bad movie episode will be slightly better than whatever terrible Christmas or gift you get. So isn't that how it works usually, that they say that like the first night is when everybody gets the good gifts, and then everybody always makes the jokes that it gets progressively worse?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea.
We can see if our guest happens to know. We'll ask them in just a second.
Okay.
We are continuing on our trudge ahead where we are focusing on highlighting different female voices, basically, because we're just 2 guys talking about stupid bad movies. We should be able to, include everyone in the process. And because of various things that have gone on in the world and in politics and in Hollywood and what have you for the last year, we wanted to, like I say, open our doors to female film critics, female writers, female filmmakers, female hosts, female podcasters, you name it, just to bring in different perspectives to broaden our horizon and to also suffer through these terrible films with us. So we have somebody that I consider a slight friend. Hopefully they consider me a friend. If not, then I'm doing a terrible job on here. But we have Liz Nelson with us. How you doing, Liz?
I am doing great. I am, I'm just hanging out on this Saturday talking to 2 dudes about terrible movies. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, that's good. That means that you set your bar of expectation very low. So I appreciate that to start out. Liz is, I think, one of the best ways to describe your connection to the film world is that you're one of the more tenured film hosts at the Alamo KC. Would that be correct in saying?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing Alamo hosting for over 3 years. So, yeah, I think I started pretty early on. I think the Alamo had only been open for maybe a year or something. I don't know. Ooh. But yeah, my first movie at the Alamo was Rocky Horror, and then the next one was Hocus Pocus, which they sadly stopped doing. So, but yeah, I've been there for a while, and then I am going to start hosting at the Screenland as well soon. And then I also teach video production to the young children. I teach high school video production, so I've seen bad movies.
Yes, you got your fingers in all kinds of pies. For people who don't live in the Kansas City area, when she mentions Screenland, there are 2 locally owned theaters. One of them is the Screenland Armor, and the other is the Screenland Tapcade. And they have lots of really cool events. Basically, if the Alamo doesn't have a cool event going on a certain night, there's a chance that Screenland does in its place. So it really works out, and you're kind of spoiled in Kansas City to get to see lots of really cool events. You might go to, a regular Christmas Vacation or Alpha Movie Party one night and then go across the bridge basically to to the other side of the river and you get to see the 4K restoration of Silent Night, Deadly Night, or Christmas Evil. And you've got people who are hosting all these events because Kansas City, well, people think of it as a small market. We have a very tight-knit film community. Would you agree?
Yes, I do. I think we have an awesome film community, and especially when it comes to the horror genre, I feel like we have a huge like horror film community. And so there's always really cool, fun horror movie events in town. I feel like sometimes I'm at the movie theater like 3 or 4 times out of the week. So there's so many things to do.
Which is good. Unfortunately, most of the people in that horror film community, or most horror film communities, probably wouldn't be caught dead seeing the movie that we saw this week, unless they have a death wish, are maybe masochistic in some way, or are one of those people who have to see every single movie known to man. That's not the case here. This one was more so a me call, because I did give Liz a list like I give everybody, and was kind of like, I think this one might be fun, so we will place the blame on me this time,
as always.
And this one was basically because I knew very little of the movie, and it was one of those that I read like the basic background, very small background to the film, and I was like, yes, that is something that I want to do. And so the movie that we covered was called Spookies. It's from 1986. It's rather short, but the best thing that can be said about the film is the fact that there was kind of a, I guess, rumor or tall tale that grew out of the history of this film, which was supposedly there was a movie that was written, shot, directed, and everything, and that the company that put money up for it basically backed out at the last minute and said, we don't really like what you have. We're going to try to use the footage that you have, and we've got another script for another movie, and we're going to make that and paste it on to each other. Turns out that wasn't exactly the story. What happened is there was a movie producer who wanted to make a movie quick and wanted to get into like the horror subgenre, but didn't really know a lot about movies whatsoever. So he hired these people to make their film. They shot everything, and the people decided for the rough cut that they were going to just stitch everything they had together, which came out to be 2.5 hours long. And when they showed it to a couple different studio heads, they were like, it's too long. We don't really like it. And so the producer was like, okay, I want to make a quick buck on this. We're going to bring somebody in. So he brought somebody who'd only worked with Trauma to edit the film. And then he also hired another director to shoot additional footage. They didn't have any of the same cast, but they did have the same location. So even though it technically isn't two films stitched together, it very much has that distinct feel. I'm curious to see what your guys' initial impressions are before we try to delve into what happened with this movie.
I mean, my first thought when I was watching it is that you can totally tell that it's just random things thrown together. Like, it feels so botched because I feel like the story makes, no sense. And all the characters are they don't fit together on top of everything else. So,
yes.
Yeah, it feels very, very weird.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you can tell, you can see the lines where this was maybe part of a completely different movie, where this part is their new shooting, and the way it's edited and put together is so rough and weird. Like, there's no real geography of the film. Like, the way it's cut, you just kind of jump around the room and you don't have a good sense of where everyone is in relation to each other and in relation to like the rooms in the house and what the hell is going on. It's very confusing to watch.
Yeah,
Oh, no, you
like,
go.
Oh, so like when you're talking about the house, like where people are, like I kept thinking that the whole time. I'm like, I don't understand where this room is in comparison to the room they were just in, which like in a movie like The Shining, that works because it like because that entire hotel is like, what the hell is happening? But it like makes it very suspenseful. Whereas this movie just feels like they had a bunch of random stages and they were like, okay, we're just going to do this scene here and this scene here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how do they never find the guy?
No,
They
yeah,
look at all these rooms and they never go into that room. Like,
we'll definitely explore the rooms themselves because there's a couple of them that definitely take you out of the film. Because I can understand like when you go into another room and it looks like a room, and then when you go into a room that looks like somewhere else, which we'll talk about. One of my favorite things about this movie is the opening credits themselves because they have two things that I'd never seen in another film. And that's, you have one that's additional material by as a writing credit for the person who clearly wrote the dialogue for the second part of the movie. And then you also had additional effects by for the person who did like all the makeup and special effects for the other portion of the movie. And that like clued me in right away saying, oh, none of this is going to make any sense.
Yeah, but can we say
yes.
Some of the effects, not all of them, but some of them are not bad.
No.
Shockingly.
I mean, some of them are kind of fun. Like,
yeah.
I mean, in that 80s like horror genre, like it was kind of fun to see some of the creatures that they made.
Yes.
But I mean, yes, some of them are definitely garbage. I mean, it's kind of a weird combination of things where I was like, oh, I'm actually surprised. That one's actually kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Now, this is one of the few times that I'll openly admit that we did succumb to having to use YouTube to watch this movie. And the reason for that is there actually are not any DVD or VHS copies of this movie readily available. They did release in a couple other countries DVDs that were sourced from the VHS master, but then those went out of print. So it's really hard to actually find copies of this movie for good reason. I don't think there's really anybody who's clamoring for it to come out. So we did have to go to YouTube to see it. So if you're interested, it's on there. You're going to find several different copies of it. So
you don't think we're going to get a 4K remaster of this movie?
I don't. If somebody's really, really desperate and recently won the lottery and has no idea what to spend their money on, there's always a chance. So we're getting 4K restorations of really weird movies out there, but those usually have like somebody that's a name of note or they're notorious for a good reason or bad reason. This, I don't know. IMDb's plot synopsis is a sorcerer tries to sacrifice a group of people inside his house with the intention of using their vitality to keep his wife alive. The interesting thing about that is the word sorcerer, as he himself, the main quote unquote character, ends up calling himself a sorcerer once the movie's like 90% over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't understand it. It's the weirdest fucking movie.
Yeah. So we're going to try to dive into this as best we can. This is definitely going to be a movie where we get confused on the order of when things happen. And that's because the movie's confused on what story it's supposed to be cutting back and forth between.
I looked up I was reading like Wikipedia too. And my favorite thing was like, it said that he was keeping his bride preserved for over 70 years using an unrevealed method, which I love that like literally no one understands. Like they know that they need these like souls of people, but like literally they don't explain like anything. They don't explain what he's doing at all.
No, because he tries to explain it to who seemed like some random person who was around who ends up being his son through a game of chess is how he's trying to describe it, which has nothing to do with the process of what he's doing, but he refers to every single person that's in the house as pawns, but they're not like actually playing a game of chess. They just have the board.
Yeah.
But then that's not connecting really with anything that's happening on the other side. So, okay. Trying to get through this. It starts out with a pulsating cover of a tomb.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like we find out who's in there at the end of the movie, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, is it supposed to Like, was he supposed to be in there the whole movie? And that
I guess so. And he was trapped. And
yeah. I apologize if anybody's even trying to listen to this, because we'll just say spoilers are going to be fucking all over the place because it's the only way to try to explain what's going on. So we open up on a chained top of a exposed tomb. It's in the middle of this little graveyard that's outside of this guy's house, but it doesn't really make sense where this part, because it's not like there's nothing ornate or nice about it. It's just the top of a tomb that's exposed and has a very light chain that's around it, and it's pulsating at the beginning of the movie. And the very last shot of the film is the top of it exploding, and the main character of the film has been in there, supposedly.
Yeah.
But when we meet him, he's inside the house talking to a coffin, and he's talking about how it's almost time and people are getting ready to come over. And then we cut to Billy, who I don't even understand the point of Billy in the movie.
Well, when I was reading this, like when you were talking about how people came in later and added things, apparently, from what I understand, Billy's whole thing was added later.
Okay.
So, like, that's why I feel like he doesn't make it into, like, any of the rest of the movie, because they just literally were like, well, we really need this, like, kid for people to care about for 5 seconds, apparently, and then leave. I don't know why they decided to add him, but it was a later addition. So that's why he's not in the rest of the movie, I guess.
They wanted you to be really depressed about this kid who, when he first shows up, he's got a backpack, sits down by a tree, pulls out Hostess snowballs,
Gross.
and sees this guy in a tree who ends up talking to him. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's my birthday. And the guy's like, yeah, happy birthday. You know, parents don't understand. And he's talking to him. Don't know why. It's just the middle of the night, and this weird guy's hanging around. And then the guy goes, well, I guess I'll see you later. Then crawls back into the tree and is killed promptly 2 seconds later.
Yeah, who is that guy? Who was that guy?
I thought he was 2 seconds before they show this guy in the tree. They showed this guy who looks like a gypsy cat person. I think that's the nicest way to describe him, who's like holding on to the side of this rock. And I was like, oh, he transformed into this dude. And it's like, nope, the cat person just killed the guy who was talking to little Billy.
Yeah.
Billy is just walking through the woods. Again, I guess his family forgot that it was his 13th birthday, so he decided to run away from home.
Like, the people that wrote this part, like, really love 16 Candles, and they were like, you know what? We really just need to have another kid whose family forgot all about their birthday, and so we're going to make Spookies be that movie.
I really forgot about the part in 16 Candles where Molly Ringwald runs like 40 miles away from home in the middle of the woods.
Because she's so sad about it.
You didn't? I guess that's the director's cut.
Yeah. That's what happens when you can't get the attention of what was the guy's name? Jake Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right, Scott. I remembered his name. Take that.
Well done. Speaking of names, I don't know anybody's name in this movie. Except for Duke, because Duke says his own name so many times that I got that one.
Oh, you mean Duke, who looks like he's Duke looks like he's like a 1950s Italian greaseball who's dressed in Eddie Murphy's outfit from Raw?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I want to make sure. What was the other one that you said, Liz? Because I don't know if I have
Billy.
That.
Well, Billy's the kid.
Yeah. And then there's there's one of the girls' names that I wrote down too. But none of them matter at all. Like, Billy's walking, he finds the house, walks into the house, and the first thing he finds is this room that's set up for a birthday party that has gifts that have his name on them. But the way the room's decorated is like with the saddest looking balloons you've ever seen.
Well, it was like the balloons you use to make like balloon animals, but then they were like just blown up and then like left like to sag and hang on. It was like so weird looking.
It was very depressing.
He also like stays in there and keeps being like, "Oh, guys, you surprised me for like so long." And I'm like, this is the worst surprise ever if everyone's gonna just be silent and not in the room.
And what would lead you to believe that a house that's like miles and miles away from where you live, that you literally stumbled upon, is where your friends and family would decide to have a surprise birthday party?
Well, sometimes you're just so desperate for love and acceptance that you're just willing to stretch your sense of disbelief and just go for it.
Sure. He's also he's not frightened by that weird ass doll that starts like having the creepiest moaning / breathing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't understand what the point of any of that was.
No. But Billy's not long for this world because he ends up getting scared by the person that we find out is like the main old guy's son, who comes creeping in with a knife. So Billy gets scared and runs out of the house, ends up getting chased by the gypsy cat person, who claws his face several times, then throws him into a little unmarked grave and spends the next 8 minutes burying his body in real time.
Yeah, which also, you were really terrible at like trying at all to get out of that hole.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right that this went on for like real time. Like we watched a child get buried live on camera. Like they did not cut away from it. We just watched it happen. It was ridiculous.
And then he's dead.
Yeah, they killed the kid.
He never comes back. Like I thought he was going to transform into something, and that's why they were doing it. Like,
nope.
The old Dracula thing where, get covered in dirt and everything while the process takes hold. But no, he just, they kill a 13-year-old kid just for the hell of it.
Yeah, way to set the tone, movie.
And there were so many moments where I thought maybe he was going to like come out of the ground or something.
Yeah.
And like never happened. And so I was like, I don't understand why they even did that entire beginning scene. Like,
no.
Yeah.
And they're cutting, well, because the movie basically, for anybody, and I guess it works for when we're recording it this weekend, because we've all seen the big film release that just came out, and we're talking about the newest Star Wars movie. And of course, Star Wars, the way that they're economically done is they always have basically like 3 storylines that are going on, and they're cutting between these 3 storylines at any given time. And it's just so you don't get overwhelmed by any one story at a time, and you're getting a whole bunch of shifting perspectives. This movie tries to do that, except for everyone that it's focusing on is of no interest whatsoever. So while we do have that little Billy section, they're cutting back with the people that are supposed to be, I don't know if there are heroes, but the main focus of the film, which are 2 sets of friends. None of them seem like they should be friends, first of all. That are in 2 cars that left a party they were at to go in search of another party that ends up being in the house that Billy was just at.
Yeah, these people, like, it's the most mismatched group of people I've ever seen. Like, you have the Italian greaseball guy you already talked about and his girlfriend, and then some British lady, and then some older man in a suit, and I'm just like, why are these people hanging out together?
Yeah. I didn't understand. I felt like I missed something that got explained. Like at first I thought it was like parents. Like I thought the older people were like somebody's parents, and they were like supposed to be going to something. Like the whole time I was trying to figure out, why would these people ever be in the same like situation together ever?
Well, I guess they were at a party previously, and Duke, the super Italian guy, and if you're confused when watching the movie, the person who seems like the biggest Italian stereotype is Duke, and that's all you need to remember him. Yeah. But I guess he did something that made it so they were asked to leave that party, and everyone else just decided, like all 8 other people were like, yeah, we're gonna go with our friend who's an asshole, and got kicked out. And there is one old guy in the group who's wearing the suit, who at first I thought that the woman he was with was his age. And then as I started to like pay attention and look at her, it looks like there's at least like 15, 20 years difference between the 2 of them.
Yeah. It's all so weird. Like
Yes.
I don't understand. Maybe they just were like, these are the only people we could get to be in Spookies, so they're gonna be.
I think that's exactly it. It's like, all right, casting call. Okay, 8 of you showed up. You're hired.
Oh wait, no, we can't do 8. Let's do 9. How does 9 sound?
There we go.
We're gonna have everybody's going to be teamed up together in a relationship, except for person number 9, who is going to supposedly be the comic relief, but not really good at relieving any comedy unless they're leaving it behind, or unless you're somebody who's really a big fan of hand puppets.
Oh my god, the puppet was so creepy and weird.
So weird.
I don't, and we didn't get an explanation for like why he had this hand puppet around the whole time. We also never got an explanation for why he's just like trying to stuff food into his face in every scene.
Yeah, maybe he's supposed to be like Shaggy.
And the doll's supposed to be Scooby.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I don't. So they decide that they're going to just wander around this house that they came into contact with. And then weird things start happening. I don't remember which order like any of these things are happening, just because
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They're weird. And like things just happen for no reason. All of a sudden there's zombies that are coming out of the ground.
Yeah, so they can't leave now because they're zombies. Apparently.
I don't.
Yeah, that's when they initially tried to leave, right?
Yeah.
When they just got scared. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and because the first thing that really happens is they find that weird Ouija board thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That looks like that. Somebody says, "Is that part cheesy?"
Well, it's interesting to me that they immediately identify it as a Ouija board when it looks nothing like
Nothing
one.
like. No.
I know. I had no idea. Like when they picked up the actual like piece that's like the guiding piece or whatever, I was like, "What the hell is that supposed to be?" And then once they put it on the board, I was like, "Okay, I kind of understand this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
I liked how they kept asking it questions. Like, what was they asked like how old somebody was or something.
24. That's
And then they were
odd.
like,
You had no idea.
when will I die? And it was like 24. And
Dun,
then the girl
dun.
was like really pissed at the other girl for being like, "What are you doing?" And it's like she's like, "I didn't do anything, I swear."
And then her response is here. I'll ask it a question. Will Duke and I be together forever? No. Will Duke and I be together in a month? No.
And she gets mad at Duke. She gets mad at Duke for that.
Pissed at him. And so she's not doing a great job of it. And so like another girl sits down and does it, and she gets possessed.
Yeah, and it I feel like she kind of reminds me of like a Deadite sort of.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
makeup that's very like similar.
Well, and because she
But
has the
there's,
main
like,
guy's
there's-
voice for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. But
Which
like
is
she
confusing.
she walks into the house, and while the other girl's messing with the Ouija board, she's across the room, and while she's across the room is when she somehow gets possessed.
Yeah.
Well, you see, he squeezes the chess piece, and it turns from a white piece to a black, and that's what happens. I don't know why that possesses someone, but
Well, because he's a sorcerer.
chess metaphor.
Yeah.
He's also playing the old man who's the, I guess, lead of the film, is playing with two different people, because he plays with the cat guy for like part of the chess game,
Yeah.
and then he's got the kid for the other part of the chess game.
Yeah.
And then he keeps going and talking back to his dead wife, randomly.
Yes, who the movie takes a weird turn. Like there's lots of weird decisions. First of all,
Yes.
they've got a couple that seems like they're together. The British chick Adrian and the guy that she's with, who I can't tell if his character's just coming off as effeminate or like if he's a closeted gay character.
I have no idea. I mean, the movie seems to make it seem like she's the controlling one, and is controlling him and ordering him around. Everyone's like, "Oh, of course you're listening to her," because it's this awful, regressive, terrible movie. But I have no idea.
I don't know. Were you able to suss that out at all, Liz?
Honestly, no. You're talking about the British girl and her boyfriend?
Yeah. And that the boyfriend kind of seems like she's his beard in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they were almost the least like focused on couple.
Yes.
Like I didn't feel like I ever really got to know, because like the only people that I really like that stuck out to me was Duke and his girlfriend, because they were always so loud and everything. But and then the weird puppet guy and the old guy. Like those are the people that I'm like, those are memorable people. But I don't really. The only specific thing I remember about the British couple was like that the guy just like fell asleep.
Yes. He's standing. He's talking to her in one shot, and then they cut back to people in another room, and then they cut back to him, and he's just passed out next to her.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you fall asleep when like all of this stuff is happening? Like, how does that? Oh my gosh.
he's also the person who tried to drink the like 30 to 40-year-old bottle of alcohol and then spat it out and was freaking out.
Oh yeah, in the basement.
Yeah.
Wait, that was him? I thought that was
No. It was a small bottle. It wasn't the vino. It was a small bottle, because it's when the British chick is sitting on the fold out couch, because he's like, "Oh, this room's creepy," and she's like, "No, it's got a fold out couch," and I'm like, no one in their entire life has ever been that excited about a fold out couch.
I did like the vino part though, and also that entire scene.
Oh, are we talking about the farting zombies now? Is that what we're talking about?
We're almost to them, because there's a very sad story about that. But we have to get to the most confusing part of the movie that we learn about like 30 minutes into the film, which you guys were getting ready to point out, with the old guy who's upstairs, who's playing chess and has really bad old man makeup.
Oh my God, I know.
He's going over and he's talking to the coffin, to the dead wife inside. And after he's killed like 2 people, she ends up coming to, and we learn that there's a twist in the movie.
That she doesn't like him?
Oh, that not only does she not like him, but she requests that he leave her alone, let her die, because she poisoned herself so that she didn't have to be around him.
Yeah, this movie took a turn for the creepy.
Like, it's the creepiest thing. And the whole, like, her storyline is the one that just gets more and more depressing as it goes on. And all of a sudden, like, I'm writing the note and everything. I'm watching it, and he goes, "You will be mine." And I said, "Oh, good. Just what this movie needs. A healthy dose of toxic masculinity."
Yeah, I mean, but that's everywhere. It's not just those 2 characters, though. It's like, it's everywhere. Like every relationship in this movie is a dude being an asshole to a woman. Like, it's just...
But like, it takes that turn for the rest of the film, and I'm like, oh, that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And totally unnecessary. Like, some writer was getting something off their chest. Their latent misogyny off their chest.
Well, and the weird thing is that, like I said, the original first part of the first movie that was shot was 2.5 hours long, and that dealt with the people who were in the house, and these characters we're talking about. Mm-hmm. The person who was brought in was, I believe, I'll have to get the person's name, but they, like I said, they brought in an editor, who worked for Trauma, and they were cutting it, and it's like they could have cut around that. You know, if they had all this footage of the film, then why didn't they cut around these parts, these uncomfortable scenes that don't have to be in there?
Because then they couldn't have had 20 minutes of her running away footage at the end of the movie.
But that's the new film.
What? I'm so confused. Which is which?
Oh, like that was filmed later? The runaway stuff?
Yeah, like the old man stuff. And okay, so we mentioned that there's a girl who I think it's Linda or something like that who gets possessed, and she has the voice of the old man for the rest of the movie. That old man's voice, I guess, wasn't really originally what she had, because it makes sense if she's possessed by whatever from the spirit board. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense if the thing that's possessed her through the spirit board is the old man, which is what leads me to believe that the old man stuff was what they shot later, and then they tried to tie it in, so they ADR'd his voice over hers as opposed to whatever it originally sounded like, to try to tie it back in together.
Okay.
Okay.
So like the original movie is just people in a house getting attacked by stuff, and there's nothing about this old dude.
Correct.
Okay.
From the like little bit of notes that I was able to find, and like trying to read about this movie is like the craziest thing in the entire world, because you're reading it and you're seeing like contrasting points of view from like people telling the same story, and you're like, I don't know what to believe was going on when you got to things being just completely insane. And we'll put up the link, but there is a long oral history on the now defunct site The Dissolve that I found after I saw the movie, where they actually did little interviews with people who were involved in the film.
Wow.
And like trying to figure out how stuff came about. Like it mentions in one part, and I was looking for this, and said credited under her birth name of Eugene, Jeannie Joseph wrote, directed, and edited the new footage that transformed the original movie Twisted Souls into Spookies. So this person got brought on and had the original stuff to edit, and then edited their new stuff that they shot and wrote. Which is just, which is so insane.
Confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it makes sense why the movie's just absolutely nuts for the majority of it. But just like trying to figure out anything that's happening is completely insane. Because like you mentioned, one of the most famous or memorable scenes, for better or worse, in the movie is when Duke and his girlfriend are in the basement, and he finds what he believes to be a bottle of vino, but spits it out because it doesn't taste right. And all of a sudden, what are labeled online as mud people pop up from the ground and from the walls, some of them with pickaxes, to try to attack the girlfriend and Duke. But instead of it just being a tense scene with music playing over it, there's a cacophony of fart sounds.
I went crazy when I saw this part. I was laughing my ass off. I was so confused. And like you said, we watched this on YouTube. I really thought someone had just like taken this movie and edited fart noises over the scene, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Would you like to know the sad truth?
Tell me the truth.
The sad truth is that that's part of the first group of filmmakers who they shot the entire scene with the mud people and everything. And then when they had the second person come on and edited it, they edited in the fart sounds. So the guy who originally directed the movie, the thing that he's saddest about is the fact that they added fart scenes or fart noises over the scene that he shot.
I think that's fair, because why?
It makes no sense.
Hey, should put some farts there. Just do some farts. We'll release a little bit of the tension.
Well,
but the scene's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And they appear like right after Duke's like sort of trying to seduce his girlfriend, and he's like, "Hey, we should do it down here." And then he like throws like a nasty sheet at her, like that's like, gonna lay this down on the ground, on the mud ground, and it'll be real romantic. And then he's like drinks the wine, and then she's laying on the ground, and that's when they come out of the ground.
And the fart monsters,
start farting everywhere.
And for whatever reason, Duke just looks at her and he goes, "Break open the wine," because there's two giant barrels.
Well, I think One of them like
wine that
steps
drips.
in a puddle. One of them like
Did he
steps
step in
in a
it first?
puddle, or like he gets splat. One of them gets like either splashed or steps in liquid, and so Duke realizes, oh, the liquid is what's gonna like kill him, like somehow. So, which is weird to me because they're like mud people, so I don't.
Yeah.
It would have to be somewhat made out of like some sort of liquid, whatever.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's wine. And the weird thing is about 20 minutes later, there's another wine bottle that one of the other characters sees in a room, accidentally knocks it over, and when it hits a little statue, it completely eats away at it. And somebody goes, "Oh, watch out! It's acid." And so I was like, "So was that just acid that was in the basement that they broke open?"
No, it's not acid because the next person is like, "I've never seen acid do that," and then the movie just moves on, and that didn't matter at all.
So
well, and plus Duke drank it, so if it was acid, I feel like he would probably not be talking anymore.
That's true.
Well, I mean, Duke does have a special level of stupidity, so maybe his body's impervious to that because he can't recognize that it should hurt him.
Duke dies off screen, doesn't he? Like,
yes,
he gets thrown across the room by the Grim Reaper, and we never see him again.
There's 3 people that are left in the house that they I guess die, but like we never actually see them die. Like when I read the synopsis, it says that everyone dies, and I'm like, I don't remember 3 of them actually dying. Like,
no, I had to rewind it because I was really confused. We'll get to it in a minute because we still have to try to figure out like the order of some of this stuff because we have the
spider lady yet.
Yes, we haven't gotten to that. So we got the fart scene, and after the fart scene, we go back to Adrian and the super overactive, kind of effeminate guy who's asleep on the couch, and she ends up getting attacked by something that's best described as a combination between a ghoulie, a gremlin, and the creature from the Black Lagoon with a tail.
Yeah.
That's accurate. Yeah.
I thought they looked like little baby creatures.
Yeah. Oh, there's like 3 of them, and we never see them again and for the rest of the movie.
Well, and it's like she's trying to wake the guy up because she's like, wake up. And then like she realizes he's dead already.
Yes.
The thing is like sucking on him, like sucking his blood or something. And she's like, ah! And then they all start appearing.
And just attacking various parts of her body.
Yeah, and they're just like biting her. Like, I feel like they would be pretty easy to get away from, but you know.
Yes. And then they have the giant way that I wrote it was the giant gooey demon creature that's out in the hallway that actually ends up then like pulling her into the hallway after she gets the little demon things away.
Yeah.
I don't. My note literally says gooey demon creature is cool, though obviously nonsensical because nothing matters in this goddamn film.
Very true.
Yep.
And then we find out about the old man upstairs again, and he basically mentions that he's been trying to resurrect her for the past 70 years. The woman that he kept against her will originally when they were together, had a child together, and then she committed suicide, and then he just lets her run out of the house.
But she doesn't seem to know that she had a child.
Yeah.
Well, because he says children, and she ends up saying, well, we only had one child, and then he doesn't answer her, and the movie doesn't continue from there.
Well, because I always kind of thought it was like he created the child. Like I kind of interpreted it as like he created the children.
No, they had the one child together.
Kid.
So like one
Blue
of
kid?
the little hooded kid
with the really weird teeth.
Yes, who's also got kind of green skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't understand any of that. Why does their kid look like that? What? Why are all the other people their children? Like, I understand he made these things, but why are they her children too? I don't understand.
I don't know. Oh, Scott, maybe the next scene will fix it. Oh, no, because it doesn't. Because when she runs out of the house, she runs through a cave that has a old, skinny, twisted witch vampire puppet lady. I think that's the right response to have.
Yeah.
Silence followed by very confused laughing.
I had no idea what was happening. There's so many different monsters in this movie, and some of them are explained, like specifically the Ouija board summons them, but some of them are just there, and that was one of them.
And like, how did it take him 70 years too? Because like, I feel like if these people just wandered in there, like, I feel like there must be something that's like drawing people to the house, because Billy also wandered in there. So I wonder if like he keeps waking, if he at all keeps waking her up and she like keeps failing, if it's like this is something that's been happening for 70 years, or if it really is that he just literally woke her up.
He infers that it's something that he's been continually trying and failing at for the last 70 years, because when he talks to the gypsy cat person who's his servant earlier in the film, he mentions, okay, we've got all the pieces in place. We have to make sure that it goes completely according to the plan this time. And it's insinuated that that giant field of headstones that's in front of the house is from all the other times that he's tried to kill people to gain their vitality to bring her back to life. But he hasn't done it in a specific order or something, because they don't say, but they keep on cutting back to the girl who has the Ouija board, and she keeps on shifting the knife, whatever thing, to like different demons that are on the board and calling them about. So like Rich, who then all of a sudden gets a different name 5 minutes later, who was the guy with the puppet, is separate from everybody in the house and keeps on getting tripped up and is scared. And all of a sudden sees an Asian woman who says, hey, follow me. I'm trapped in here too. I'm going to get you out of here. And when she leads him into her room, all of a sudden her room becomes a giant cave.
Yeah. And also like the music that played when she showed up, I was like, can we just not? Can we not? It was like so racist. And I was like, like, because it was that typical like Asian sounding like music, and she just like appears out of the darkness, and it's like ding 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 ding, and I'm like, no. Stop right now.
It would have only been worse had she like banged a gong to get his attention.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really notice that it's kind of weird that this room is also a cave at first, until
like, this chick is talking to me like, yeah, like he's like, I don't care where we're going as long as I'm going with you. Like, I don't know.
But that's a bad decision, because he ends up caught in a spider web, and the woman ends up saying that she's been trapped in the house for an eternity, and then she starts to transform into a spider.
Yeah, but I also like how the transformation process was like 5 steps or whatever. Like it was like,
yes,
she becomes this monster, and then and then it's like they look at him and he's like, I'm scared, and then it's like they go back to her and she becomes a second stage of the monster. Yeah. Like it was like, what is happening?
But it started out cool, and then as the stages progressed, it got more comical and comical. So when she does have the spider face at the end, I was howling.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And then she kills him instantaneously by sucking the life force from his body.
And he just turns into like a skeleton. Like, yeah. It's
just it takes her a longer time to actually transform into the spider than it does to kill him.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Yep.
I don't know. There's like the movie isn't even trying, because they keep on cutting back and forth between all the people in the different rooms. And at one point, there's people who are having a problem in a room, and there's a Grim Reaper that's over in the corner, and then it comes to life, and they've got a really, really slow fight that's going on at the same time as the Spider Woman. And once that's all resolved, people are walking through another room and they're like, "Oh, we got to find a way to get out of here. We gotta find something to do." And the old man comes up to this table, the old guy in the suit, and goes, "Maybe we can find a way to fight these demons. Maybe it's locked in one of these pages. Maybe we'll never know."
That's the answer.
I'm just like, wait.
It's that third one.
Oh, okay. Thanks for running us through this film and then just deciding that none of these is the answer. And then they have, I don't remember who says it, but they end up saying to everybody, "We just want your souls." Oh, it's the possessed lady, but she's like, "We just want your souls." And they don't say why.
It's an unrevealed method.
Well, that's true. That's my bad. That's my bad. But they when they're after she says that they need their souls, we see the old man upstairs talking to his kid, and he's trying to get him to harness his powers. And then down in the room, the possessed girl's head breaks open and causes like weird blue static electricity to age everybody in the movie. So the old guy in the suit goes over and rips off an arm from the skeleton that had the Ouija board earlier. He throws the arm at the Ouija board, which causes it to explode. And then it cuts to the old man. And this is where I had to rewind, like after the movie finished 7 minutes later. So the old man's at the chessboard and he starts knocking over all the pieces and he goes, "All the souls have left the realm of the living."
So that's them dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. But we just
yeah, but I had to rewind it. And like even you mentioned that you didn't hear them give a concise explanation.
Yeah, I mean, well, because like then it cuts to like the wife running away.
Yes.
And then I thought they were going to go back to the people, and then they never go back to those people. And I was like, did they die? Like, and then I had to look it up because I was like, I definitely don't remember them having a conclusion.
Yeah, because the girl all of a sudden has, and the wife who was dead and resurrected, she has internal monologue all of a sudden when she's downstairs after she's, ran through a whole bunch of stuff. And she goes, "Finally, I know what I must do. Maybe I've always known." And then she just runs off. And while she's running off, as she's going through the field outside the front of the house, a whole bunch of zombies end up popping up from the ground. And they corner her at one moment and like tear everything off her except for like a nightgown underneath. And then she just keeps running for like another 5 minutes.
Well, and then also I like how she keeps just kind of like running around in a circle. Like I'm like, just pick a direction and go. Because like I feel like she kept like trying to like avoid them or something. Like I don't know what she was trying to do, but the running scene took so much time.
Yes.
And and her way of running made no sense to me. Like I was like, you just keep running into other hordes of zombies.
And then when she does think that she's found like a way to escape, she finds a car and gets into it with another guy. And when they're driving away, all of a sudden the guy turns to her and goes, "I've always loved you too." And it turns out that he's actually the cat gypsy person.
Because
twist.
She gets in the car and nobody's in the car at first. Yeah. And I was kind of like, how do you even know what a car is?
Yeah,
like,
if she's been dead for 70 years.
Like I was like, how do you even know how to work this? And like, because she like obviously knows that she's supposed to use the steering wheel and like she's looking for keys and I'm like, what? How do you know any of this? Like it just makes no sense. Like you shouldn't even know what's going on. Like you should keep running away. And then the cat guy comes and is like, "I'm gonna drive you away." And yeah.
And then he starts laughing, which causes the camera to cut to the kid inside the house laughing. And then the top of the pulsating tomb from the very beginning of the movie pops open, like explodes, and has the guy who was inside the house, who forgot to mention because it's just really annoying, but the way that she got out of the house was she stabbed him in the head with like a screwdriver. And he pops out of the tomb and is laughing with the mark in his head from where he got stabbed, and the movie ends.
Yep. Yep. I don't.
Well, and also when the zombies all popped out, that was a moment where I thought Billy was going to show up again. Like I was like, oh, maybe Billy's going to do one of these. Like I thought maybe he was going to be like a zombie, you know, like he had gotten buried. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll see Billy again. And then like, no, we didn't see him. No.
But they did have the guy who was in the tree who got killed at the very beginning.
Yes, he was one of the zombies.
Yes. So I don't know. This movie features a scene in which they kill a 13-year-old boy for no reason. And then bury him alive.
They bury him alive. That's how they kill him. That's like the worst way to I don't.
He's got all those open like wounds on his face too, so they're just throwing the dirt into that. That's what bothered me. So, yeah, this movie's a giant clusterfuck. Yeah. And we usually try to play the game of how would you fix this? And I almost want to say, but don't try to film a whole bunch of extra stuff. If the movie was originally 2.5 hours long and that's your rough cut, then let the people cut the movie themselves.
Well, yeah, and just cut the 2-hour movie down to be shorter, but don't just take part of it and then add a bunch of other storyline that makes zero sense and try to create a new movie. Because I feel like there could have been something cool with the whole possessed house thing.
Yeah.
Without the old man and without the creepy old guy and his wife. If that was totally taken out, with just a possessed house that had creepy monsters and things like that in it.
Yeah.
And these people trying to survive the night. To me, that's a simple concept that could have been okay. And it would have some, because some of those effects were cool. And so that could have been an okay movie. It probably wasn't going to be anything amazing, but it at least would have been a little bit easier to understand.
Yeah. And you could have had the girl who gets possessed, have it be an actual demon or the devil has possessed her. And this house has been trying for years to have these people have different people be killed by demons because it opens up a gateway to hell or something like that.
Yeah, and that's how it. And that the spider lady could have been one of the people that got trapped because she says how she's been trapped there.
Yeah,
she could be an old victim or something. Who knows? They could all because it kind of has a not. Really, but sort of. It reminds me of Waxworks, where it's
that's what I was just about to say. Yeah,
each of them have a different vignette that they're in because they all fight these different monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been something where they each get trapped with their specific thing.
Yeah, and the spider lady is somebody who kind of they did in Waxworks that if you end up failing the display, you end up getting trapped in there. And the spider lady could have been that. Her fear was spiders, and she ends up getting trapped in that room. And because she's been there for so long, that's how she becomes a spider lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that working, actually.
They should just have us fix it.
Well, I don't know what we were doing in 1986. Oh, yeah, I was 3.
I wasn't alive yet. So.
Well,
baby Adrian could fix this movie.
No, I was...
probably it would have been that much worse. 3-year-olds think farts are funny too, so.
It's very true. It's very true.
32-year-olds think farts are funny because that was my favorite scene.
That's what I was going to say. Does anybody actually have we do Ray of Sunshine, which is basically in the crap-filled movie. Is there something that stood out to you as being a scene that you actually legitimately liked or had something that was so terrible it made you laugh?
I think my favorite creatures were the little tiny gremlin-y creature from the Black Lagoon things. Because also when they zoom in on its face, the face made me die because it was none of the facial features moved at all really except for the eyeballs, and they were shifty eyes. And I kind of just want to make a GIF of that and have that be a reaction to a lot of things just.
Yes, it was very weird. Like I couldn't tell like how many there were. Like I know there were 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
like there was one that didn't do anything. It was just like on the top of like a bookshelf.
Yeah. I just thought they were like weirdly cute.
It's understandable.
Laugh.
And so Scott, you choosing the fart scene?
It has to be. It has to be. You can't. No, it's the best scene in the movie. It's hilarious. I could not stop laughing. I'm laughing thinking about it right now. It's just so stupid and juvenile, and that's apparently what I love.
Well, I think like when I saw something about this movie, it was like that's like why it's kind of remembered is because the fart zombies. Like they're like like literally I feel like somebody wrote something about that. Like that's why people talk about this movie is because there's that farting mud man scene.
Yeah, that's understandable. I think it's one of the line readings that's just over the top for no reason is when they're first in the house for like just a few minutes. They it's Carol because I checked my notes, but when Carol gets possessed and she's talking about the Ouija board and how to follow the rules and stuff like that, and mentions that they're in communication, and the slightly effeminate guy goes, communication with who? I'm just like, I don't know what script notes they gave you, but that's not how you should read the line. And then the other moment that had me laughing really hard, I don't know if you guys enjoyed it, but when Billy is being chased by the gypsy cat person, the person who's running behind them is just going, meow.
What?
Meow. He's making the worst cat noises in what's supposed to be like the really tense scene. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I had to rewind it because I couldn't figure out if it was like the actor themselves or if it was like the fart scene where they're like, oh, we're just going to put the sound effect cue in there. And I'm like, I don't
Was it
know.
the actor?
It was the actor.
Yeah, I remember those noises because I was like, why is this happening?
And then he attacks the kid and fucking buries him alive.
Yeah.
Took a really weird turn.
Yeah.
All I'm saying.
Moral of the story is if you're trying to find a place to party, don't party in the house that has a graveyard for a front yard.
It's very true. It's very true. That should be horror movies 101. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we vote?
No. This is a mess of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just summed it up. Just
there you go. Don't party at that house.
Yeah, don't party at that house, and also don't have such a weird group of friends.
Oh, they're trying to be diverse. I mean, they're not really that diverse because there's not a person of color among them.
No,
but
all just white people, weird white people.
Yeah, that should be a lesson too. If people are going to party in a house that has a graveyard in front of it and there's nothing but weird white people who shouldn't be friends, don't go into that house.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned at the top, the way the voting works is as if you vote not guilty, you're saying that the movie was charming or ridiculous enough that you think that everybody should be allowed to watch it. Guilty means that the movie is absolutely terrible. There might be 1 to 2 pieces that are funny, but it's not a movie that people should ever bother themselves with viewing, because we're going to shoot it into the Phantom Zone if it gets that. So, Scott, let's start with you. Guilty or not guilty?
As much as I want to say not guilty, because the aforementioned fart zombies, no, this is a mess of a movie. I did not, with 1 or 2 exceptions, I really did not enjoy watching it. I was just confused and my head hurt. And I don't think anyone should have to go through that. So, guilty.
All right. Liz, you are next up.
I think I have to agree with Scott. This is definitely a guilty. And I think like you could probably just have like a best of compilation, like, and just really quickly show the monsters and then be done with it. Like, if you wanted to see the farting zombies and the weird little gremlin creatures, that's like the good highlights of the movie. And then the story makes absolutely no sense. So it's not worth even trying to watch.
That's a good and honest opinions, and I completely agree. It's guilty as well. There's a couple moments that stand out, but you'd really hope that the people who got kind of trashed and their film destroyed got to go on and make other movies. So hopefully we have films where they got to put, better creature designs to use. In most cases, it doesn't end up happening. But yeah, go onto YouTube and find the farting zombie scene, and we'll act like this movie never made it to the light of day, and that's the only footage that exists from it, because it's guilty and it's being launched far, 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 far into space. Yeah, that's it. This was terrible. I had high hopes and thought that it was going to be funnier, but yeah, I felt sadness while watching it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
it makes
sorry.
me sad people try to make something funny and then it's just really not funny.
Yeah.
It's like The Room. It's like that feeling you get watching The Room where it's just, you kind of feel sad.
Why? What are you talking about? I thought Tommy Wiseau meant for that to be a comedy. That's what he said. Did he lie to me? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe a little bit.
Oh, my heart is crushed now.
Like, I just feel sad for all these actors that were in it.
Oh yeah. Well, they got paid. So.
Yeah, probably not that much. Not enough.
Not enough to have that be your legacy.
Yes.
I guess it's understandable. Hey, Liz, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Lizzie Lou, which is spelled Miss MISSLIZEELOU. So that's where you can find me online.
There you go. Do you have anything upcoming that you want to plug? I know you said you're not sure what the date is, but you said that you're going to be doing a horror roulette coming up.
Yes, I am going to be doing a horror roulette at the Screenland in January.
Okay.
And it's all going to be killer ladies.
Ooh, that's nice.
So, look for that on the Screenland website. We'll announce a date soon.
And for the people at home who don't know what that is and don't live in Kansas City and want to be jealous of that, can you explain to them what that is?
Yes. So basically, I will pick, I picked the theme. So I thought Killer Ladies would be super fun. And there will be 5 movies that are possibilities for the evening. And then somebody will come up and roll a dice. And then depending on what they roll, that will be the movie that we watch that night. So you don't really know what you're going to watch until you get there.
Yeah, they've been doing it for they started in October for Halloween based stuff, and it's really picked up steam.
Yeah.
And there's been a whole bunch of people who I know have been asking basically everybody, hey, when's the next time you guys are doing this? What's the next theme going to be? So it's really taken off a life of its own. And when you see it on the Screenland website, the thing to know about it is it's usually only $5.
Yes, it is. It's very cheap, and then you can go have a delicious Screenland Tapcade burrito. So
yes, or one of the delicious beers that they have on tap.
Yes, or my favorite cocktail, which is the Princess Peach. So highly recommend.
What's in that?
I don't even remember, but it's very sour and tart, which I like. So.
There you go. Scott, where can you be found online?
I am also on the Twitters at Daily Planet, that's my other Twitter, at Scott Daily 85. That's DALY. My website Twitter is at Daily Planet Films, and that's also where you can find all the other podcasts I do and more.
Do you have anything going on that you want to plug or no?
Nothing right now. Just the usual stuff.
So exciting. I'm so glad you have that much energy to talk about it.
Well, do you want? I mean, we're doing. I have my weekly podcast. We're going to be talking about Star Wars on Monday. That'll be out Monday morning. We're talking about Star Wars. It's going to be really exciting because I have a lot to say about that movie.
We got Worm.
Well, I don't like. No one understands what that is, so I don't talk about it.
I'm trying to help out. If they want to give it a shot, it's there.
It is there. You can go to my website, dailyplanetfilms.com, and learn all about the things I do.
Or, you can go to dailyplanet.com and be like, I don't care about any of this other stuff. I came for this. Because that's how, Scott, but that's how you presented it.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You want to talk about Boss Baby again, Scott? Let's go.
No,
exactly.
I don't care about it either.
So that's fine. That's fine. If you didn't know, Liz, there was an episode we did when you were going to be on previously. We recorded an episode where we were doing the worst of movies and ended up going on like a 15-minute argument / rant about Boss Baby.
It's an absolutely garbage movie.
Yes. Yeah. But we're not going to get into
I'm not going to get baited. It's a terrible movie, but
no. Yeah. Puppies,
you're not
Anyways, anyways, you can find me on Twitter at Adrian Torres. You can also find my writing at boomhowdy.com. In this next week, I'm going to have several reviews going up. There's going to be on Wednesday, The Greatest Showman and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And then getting you can't get any further away from those two reviews that I'm doing than the ones that are dropping on Friday, the 22nd, which is Phantom Thread and The Post. So I'm staying very on brand by being as diverse and ridiculous as I possibly can. Liz, I want to thank you for coming on and braving watching this movie. It may sound silly, but it means a lot when people are willing to subject themselves to some of the movies that we watch.
Well, I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. Even though the movie was terrible, it was fun to talk about. And, just I appreciate the camaraderie that is hating this movie.
Well, that's the main thing. You got to commiserate together. And thankfully, I mean, of course, this is going to be dropping after the day that we actually go to it. But Liz and I, in just a couple hours, are going to be going out to a holiday movie marathon event here in Kansas City, which is it's at the Screenland Tapcade, not Screenland Armor, but it's just one of the many fun things that goes on here in the film community. So thankfully, we will be able to enjoy the evening watching better movies than this.
Yes.
Have fun, guys.
We will. We're trying to line up when the next guest is going to be on because we're recording this at the same time. We might wait and decide to have the next episode be that week of Christmas, like the very tail end. I just have to make sure that the person that we were going to have guest next is fine recording then. So until then, take care, be well, and yeah, there we go.
I don't need no predictions. I don't listen to fate. I'm a cold soul survivor. I've been known not to wait. In a land of confusion, no one's ready to face. If it's love that you're after, then you're in the wrong place, baby. Soldier. Soldier, where's your sister? Can you hear her helpless cries? The only light to guide you now is a fire in your eyes. Soldier.